Are we live?
Yep.
Okay, hey, welcome Tiger. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm City Councilor Liz Newton.
I'm City Councilor Tom Anderson.
And we're here for the next hour to take your questions. If you have a question, please submit it in the comment box. We're recording this event and it will be posted on the city's YouTube channel, so you can go back and look at it later.
This is a listening session. It doesn't necessarily need to be all questions. It could just be comments that we can archive and think about later and share with the other council members. So feel free to call in and tell us what you're thinking.
Okay, first thing we wanted, while we're waiting for you all to comment, send in your questions or comments, we want to tell you about a Lend a Hand donation event that's scheduled for July 25th. It's we're hosting an essential needs donation event from 9 to 3 at the Public Works Building, which is at 877 Southwest Vernon Street. And your donations will directly assist those in our community affected by COVID-19. And what can be donated, you ask? Non-perishable foods, hygiene supplies, baby supplies, cleaning supplies, cloth face masks. If you make masks, you could donate those. Washable, reusable cloth face masks for adults and children are welcome, and please place the mask in a Ziploc or paper bag labeled with the size. Paper grocery bags and small medium boxes would also be helpful. Go to the next announcement.
It says wear a mask, wear a mask, wear a mask. You can see obviously we're wearing a mask now. And Oregon is experiencing a record number of COVID-19 cases. I think yesterday was the high day.
Right.
But it's all across the state. So do your part by limiting indoor gatherings to less than 10 people. That's the new norm. Limiting travel. Maintaining distance, 6 feet of distance. And of course, wear a mask.
So, yeah, that's important. And I know our staff here at the city is making plans, so at the point in time when we can start to reopen buildings to services, we'll be able to do that. You should know that a lot of our services are available online, so you can get many of the services that you would be looking for by going onto the city's website and accessing services there. Racial justice and city action. As you may know, the city has been working a lot on listening and hearing from people about the concerns folks have in terms of how we can become an equitable community for everyone. We've got a website that you can go on and look at all the activities that it's called A Community for All, everything that we've done. We've heard from, I don't know, probably 400 or 500 people. The City Council is also working on putting together a transformation committee or commission. We would start looking at public safety services and move on to review all city services in light of how we're serving our Black and communities of color. The Transformation Commission draft that the council put together is ready to go out for your comments. I think it'll be posted. I'm looking at Communications Manager Wyatt. Be posted, if not today, tomorrow. So you can go on to the city's website, and would encourage you to take a look. We really want to hear from you about that direction that we're wanting to take as a community. Want to continue to listen, discuss, and respond on how we can become an equitable community for everyone.
So look at that document online tomorrow and throughout the weekend, and write your comments. We need to see them. It's a very good document, but it's very open. So they're kind of prompts to get you to think about things that the Tiger does, what Tiger could do better in the police, other types of safety in the city, and
right.
That's it. If anybody wants to be a part of the commission too, I think at that point. So we're having people from all walks of life in the city make up this commission. So if you would like to volunteer for that, I guess that would be the first step on replying online there.
Yeah. Okay, we have a question. I am submitting my question on behalf of the people in my neighborhood. When can we expect the development of Steve Street Park to take place? We are all paying taxes on a park that is for all intents and purposes unusable. The grass is only mowed a few times a year and has resulted in a handful of injuries in the past few months. We ask that you please move Steve Street Park to high on your priority list to be developed. Well, that question came in earlier today, so we're fortunate to have received a response from the staff. The Steve Street project has been submitted to Metro for a grant for Metro's local share reimbursement program. There's money set aside at Metro that will come to Tigard, and we're planning to develop the park with those funds. July 2022 was noted as a possible start date for construction. This schedule is based on when funding will become available and on the amount of time it takes to develop construction documents, go to bid, and move into construction. So that's the response we have. I might ask that on our park communications manager, Wyatt, that on our parks page on the city webpage that we put an update about Steve Street Park, so those of you that are interested can get that information and maybe also write in if you have more specific concerns.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to address a couple of these.
Okay.
So somebody said that they found out that Steve Street property will be coming into our parks as far as development in 2022. Is there a way that we can expedite that timeline? Perhaps gather signatures or something of that nature? Well, it's all about funding, for sure. And once we get a grant from Metro, then we'll put that, right to the top of the line. It's a great little park.
Yeah.
I've been there, but we just don't have it in our budget right now.
Right. And the thing too is, we have funds for park maintenance, and then the park development funds are a different pot of money. So we've got to be mindful of how we budget those dollars. And kudos to our staff for looking under every rock, so to speak, to get funding for development of our parks. But that's the funding source we've targeted for that park. So at least there is a funding source.
It said, additionally, I would like to appeal for a community garden to be added to the plan. Having a way for everyone in the neighborhood to connect, not just children, is essential in building community. I think that's a great idea. As the planning comes out with our engineers and community development.
And the community engagement aspect of it, that would be important for people to weigh in.
You can contact community development Director Kenny Asher, and he will get that to the right program manager for that.
Right. Okay, we have a question about the library. What phase is the library going to open in? 3? So it's going to be about services and how we provide them, and how we can, what state law, what the rules are around numbers of people we can have in the building. That's going to dictate it somewhat. We also have to be mindful of how items are going to get circulated out of the library. I'm looking at our communications manager. I know we've got some plans in place for phase 2, but I don't think it involves a full opening of the library.
No, think about doing some stuff outside the library,
Right,
in the parking lot.
Yeah, but I don't think in phase 2 it would
That's right, yeah.
fully reopen. So stay tuned for that.
Got a question about business community.
Businesses, you want to start with that?
Anything else is planned to help
Yeah,
business
what
community?
else?
What else will be done to help businesses? Are we talking about COVID?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
So Tigard had round 1 of their CARES Act, which we took $300,000 and leveraged it out to over $1 million in grants and loans to local businesses. Then we were done because we didn't really have any more money in our budget to help. However, we've got reimbursed for that money and then some from the county, from federal funds. So we are going to be opening up another phase of that same program, and the people that have been kind of on our wait list are contacted first, but you can certainly apply on the city website. If you're a business that needs help in these trying times for COVID relief.
And we were told by our economic development manager, Lloyd Purdy, that we probably would have enough funds to fund some folks beyond the wait list, so that's encouraging. It seems like there might be enough funds to go beyond the wait list. So if you are a business that hasn't applied and would like to, I would encourage you to go to that website, the Tigard Cares, and get the detailed information there about how to apply. Okay, we have a question about traffic in Metzger, affecting livability within the neighborhood streets of Metzger. Development of dense housing is getting improved without consideration for the taxpayers that already live in those communities. The intersection at 78th and Faffel onto 99W is dangerous for pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers, and unsustainable feeder portal. And now they want to add more high density off 74th and Legacy Oak Way that would feed onto 99W via that route. What can be done to help meet the needs of affordable housing while not destroying the livability of what used to be a quiet neighborhood? I don't know if the Planning Commission's had any discussions about that neighborhood as a whole related to traffic.
Metzger's kind of funny. Part of that is Washington County,
Correct.
unincorporated Washington County. Part of it's in the city of Tigard. So depending on where you are, you could be in a different jurisdiction. Those developments do have to, before they get permitted, they do have to go through a traffic plan, which means traffic counts and the number of trips generated, and they have to be signed off by ODOT, looked at by traffic engineers, so they must think that there is capacity there to service the existing roads, or to use the existing roads. The quiet neighborhood changing is just kind of a fact of life with more density coming in. I know some people want things to stay that way forever, but that's not the way we're going with the urban growth boundary. There's just kind of more density that they're requiring of us.
And the other thing too is the west part of Metzger would be covered in our review of the Washington Square regional plan, I think, so the western edge would be covered by that. So something to look at, and maybe a connection with, again, Kenny Asher, our community development director, for more detailed questions or answers to your questions. It might be a productive conversation.
I'll post it in the chat box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, probably mention a specific development, and we can start there and go backwards.
Right. Okay. Is it my turn? Your turn. Your turn.
This is also about
Carrie
Metzger.
Carrie Burke, I've voiced concern about a lack of sidewalks in the Metzger area on Hall Boulevard. I see people walking along the bike path every time. I am in that area, so it is dangerous for pedestrians. I realize this may not be Tigard who would take care of this, but I can't imagine I'm not the only person who finds this area of Tigard worrisome for traffic incidents.
Correct. It isn't, Hall Boulevard at this point isn't the responsibility of Tigard for maintenance or improvement, but that doesn't mean it's any less important. A lot of people have concerns about traffic and competition between pedestrians, bicyclists, and cars to travel on Hall Boulevard. So the city is looking into it for the area south of 99W down toward the library to be assuming maintenance for that portion of Hall Boulevard. And I know there are some improvements scheduled generally in that neighborhood, but quite frankly, I don't think it's going to be a full of the improvements for the full length. So.
The problem with those neighborhoods built in the 60s and early 70s is they just didn't require sidewalks. Sidewalks are very expensive, so they didn't put them in then. It would have been great if they did. There's going to be some improvements on Hall Boulevard throughout, so hopefully we can get some, we'll certainly pass this on to Washington County and see what they think.
Okay, what plans are in place to create safe places for homeless, things like showers, rest areas, camping spots? Well, nothing specific at this point, but it is something we're going to be looking at. We do have concerns for our homeless population, and so as we look at services for our community, we'll be looking at what services are needed by the homeless, our homeless population, and how we can help out. We do partner a lot with groups like Just Compassion and some of the other groups that provide services for homeless, so we work really closely with those organizations. And so I think as we move forward, the city is going to be looking at what role we can play in terms of providing those services. We try to keep some of our restrooms open in the downtown area for homeless and things like that, but I agree, there are a lot of the churches feel the need for showers and things like that. We have looked at the parking lot camping program. That got a little bit derailed when COVID came along. So, you know, we are trying to look at some things and what would be an appropriate role for the city to play. So stay tuned on that as well. Do you have any comments on that?
Well, I'm very involved with the overnight shelters in the winter for severe weather, done at the local churches, Friday, Saturday, Thursday nights as well. Those stopped because of COVID reasons, because the volunteer population was, you know, at risk themselves. So the county, Annette Evans over at the county, they want to do something more permanent for that, so that burden doesn't have to fall on the churches. So that is something that is in place, and they're planning that, and they do have funds for that. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen in the winter time. But for right now, in the summer months, not a lot's happening.
Yeah. Okay, sorry if I missed it. I heard the response to the Steve Street Park, but can we at least have the park mowed more frequently so we can at least use it and cut down on the fire danger? Thanks. And I see a response from our staff already. We will cut the field again with a tractor flail as time labor allows. Did you know there was a piece of equipment called a flail?
I did not.
Okay.
But they're going to use it.
I learned something today. Okay.
Again, this is a listening session. We don't know the specifics, but we'll pass it on to Public Works and see if they can get out there.
Next one to you.
Kareen, nice to see you in masks. It's amazing how well we are able to recognize others from the eyes up.
That's right.
She also wants an update on the Streets for People project.
Oh, the Streets for People project.
Yep.
Okay, the Streets for People project. Right now, it's a pilot project that's in effect until September. I'm not sure if it's the beginning of the month or the end of the month. I live in the neighborhood where the pilot program is, and I will tell you that there's a lot more people walking, a lot more people with dogs.
Oh yeah.
The street I live on never had a lot of traffic anyway, but a lot less traffic. And so we are looking for your comments about that program. There is a survey. You can go on and provide your comments, and we'll reevaluate it after the summer and see if we want to extend it, expand it, or how we move on. So I think that's where we are with that.
Okay, please provide specific examples of Tigard City bureaus and departments that are currently practicing institutional racism, as it seems the city has made that determination in public commentary. So we are reviewing all of our policies right now in the city and council as well about institutional racism, and there's really nothing dramatic there. I will share one example that I remember from a couple of years ago, that we had a person of color who left the city. They were employed here, and in their exit interviews they mentioned that they didn't always feel comfortable. So it wasn't a lawsuit or situation, it was just that we can do better there. And so we took that to heart, and we're trying to put some training in place so that we can feel welcoming and they have a comfortable place to work.
Right. So yeah, it's a matter of us evaluating all of our services and policies and making sure that the folks in our community and the people we serve have equitable services, and also, as Councilor Anderson just said, they feel comfortable in our community, safe, and a true part of our community. So we're looking at everything. Again, we talked about the Transformation Commission. You can go online tomorrow and take a look at that, and we really would appreciate your feedback. We are listening. We do want to hear from you about your issues of concern in this regard. So thanks. Okay. I'm interested to know what Tigard City Council knows about restorative justice. Well, we haven't had a primer on that. I was on the board of the Beaverton Dispute Resolution Center. As many of you may know, I was a city employee here for 37 years before I retired and then ran for council. And one of the committees I was on when I was an employee at the end of my tenure here was the Beaverton Dispute Resolution Center. So I was involved in learning about restorative justice and trying to move that forward for Washington County and the city of Beaverton there. It is one of the things that's identified in our Transformation Commission as an issue that we want to have that commission look at. So I guess my hope as a city councilor, and I'm speaking for myself, is that we get folks educated about what that is on the commission, and we try to move that forward in our community, as it is it is an important component of some of the issues that come up in our community. So hoping to move forward on that. I don't know if you have any comments about that.
No, I think you covered
okay.
that well. Let's see. What innovative ideas and programs do you have you seen city employees come up with and implement in response to COVID-19 that you were most impressed by? Well, we haven't seen a lot of the city employees because we've been away.
I guess what I would
CARES
say,
Act was...
I've been impressed by was, even though our buildings were closed, our staff found a way to keep providing people services. And I know other cities who sort of had to hit pause and try to figure it out. But I was really impressed by the fact that we didn't really miss a beat. You could still get a building permit, you could still get inspections, you could still, our court staff worked really hard to keep that going. Utility billing, so I've just been really impressed by our staff just keeping things going in light of the fact that they were all working from home, so.
Corinne?
Yeah.
Can you summarize the budget decision outcomes for years 20 to 21? We just passed the budget. It took a little bit longer due to COVID and our virtual meetings, but we did pass it. A lot of the enterprise sections were pretty much status quo. We've got to fund the roads and the sewers and the wastewater, and of course we had a levy
Yeah.
that was passed, and so that helped out with the police in their hiring. So that was a nice boost for us.
And we also had a discussion about park maintenance. So
Yes.
that was a change. We did do some funding for park maintenance, and so that was something that was a little bit outside just the sort of regular, besides the police levy. That would be the other thing that I would say that we funded. And then, we know that COVID-19 is having an economic effects on our community, so we all walked away from the budget meeting realizing that we may be doing more work this year.
Yeah, we're going to revisit it a little bit more often. We had to get the budget in at that time. It was kind of a state law. And so we got the budget in. We have a little wiggle room to change that as we see fit for COVID, and we may. So we'll continue to look at the budget a little more intensely this year.
Next question I can kind of see.
There we go.
Has the rent waiver expired? No, it hasn't.
No.
It's tied to the emergency, right, declaration?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the emergency declaration is going to go through at least August at this point. So you're fine.
Yeah, it's again tied to the emergency declaration, so we don't have to keep renewing it. It's tied to that. So
Yeah. There's there's comments in the state legislature that they may continue it through the rest of 2020, but in Tigard we just have it through August at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Any updates on the increase of police force we voted earlier this year? Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, the chief is, she gave us an update the other day. They're in the process of hiring 2 new officers right now. As you know, we funded 8, and then the school resource officer, which we're talking with the district about separately, but they're in process now to add 2 new officers right now, and so the hiring process takes a bit, but they're moving forward.
Yeah, hiring police is a tricky thing. You've got to send them to police camp for about a couple months, and then we get them back, and then we train them. And so it's a long process, but they're happy to be looking out there. And we have some competition from other cities around the area for police. Obviously, in these times, they're very valuable. So I think we're off to a great start.
Right, and I think we're looking at sending our initial new hires to the police academy in October and November. So if we can get people in and get them in the academy, I think we can get a couple of spots then.
Yeah.
So, any
Thanks.
other questions there, Mr. Wyatt?
Thanks, Jeremy.
Just a comment, Cherokee passed along an article for council and staff to look at about race relations
Okay.
that I'll share with you guys.
Okay, great. Okay, well, while we are waiting for you to come up with some more comments or questions, wanted to remind you all that speed photo enforcement started at 2 intersections on July 1st, 99W and 72nd and 99W and Hall. And just wanted to remind folks that the intersections that we chose were chosen because they have a high volume of traffic accidents. And also they're difficult intersections for our officers to watch. There's not safe places for them to pull over, to even motor officers to sit and try to address speeding or red light running. And so we were very selective about the intersections that we chose, and they're really designed to be a traffic safety tool there. We will not be doing speed enforcement on the 99W and Durham intersection because the speed changes shortly after you get through that intersection. So ODOT did not approve that because they thought it could be confusing to motorists, and they thought it would be better to leave that off. So reminder, speed enforcement took effect July 1st.
Now, there's some confusion. We've gotten some emails about this. If you're 1 mile over the speed limit, you will not be ticketed. The minimum is 10 miles over. So sometimes you realize that you got to get through the intersection quickly. 10 miles over, and you will not be ticketed. But we did some testing on these intersections before. Actually, the company that monitors these things, and it was amazing to see how many people, especially late at night, say midnight and beyond, were going through those intersections 20 and 30 and sometimes 40 miles over the posted speed limit and just blowing through these intersections. So definitely not safe, and some of those obviously result in some tragic accidents.
Yeah. We have another question. What's the city doing to enforce social distancing in the parks and on the trails? I don't know specifically. I've been on the trails a little bit in my neighborhood, and most of the people I see are wearing masks. Not everybody, but most people.
Well, the city really doesn't enforce it. It's laid down by the governor, and we hope everybody's doing the right thing. But as far as enforcement in the parks, I suppose if we have a officer driving through there and sees an obvious violation, he might stop and educate somebody, but at this point there isn't. Yeah.
Trying to take the governor's lead and encouraging people through education that how important it is. You can report using a non-emergency number.
Please.
Is that you telling us that?
Yeah,
again?
I'll post that number.
Our communications manager is going to post the police non-emergency number for you, and you can report folks that aren't wearing masks where they should be to that number. And I'm going to let you take the next question because you know all about that because you were on the committee.
Any news on the senior housing at the senior center? Yes, we just got an update on that for sure. planning process. But the architect, Sarah Architect, and Northwest Housing Alternatives have pretty much decided on a plan. They've had a lot of feedback from the community that lives around the area. So we haven't posted it online yet, but it's going to be a beautiful building. I think 57 one-bedroom unit apartments.
Right.
For seniors with low income, and people are very concerned about the parking. Of course, that area is pretty restricted as far as the lot itself, but we think we figured that out with some shared parking, and the senior center itself is very excited about it,
Right.
and we're excited about the process of them going for permits. And once they do the final apps, we'll get down to the details. But there are some renderings, and maybe we can get those online.
Yeah. The other thing I will say is this is a little bit different process, because since the city owns the property, the community is benefiting by watching as the project is being developed. And if this was a private developer on a private piece of property, it would be happening, in their company, offices. But so this is a unique opportunity for our community to see how these projects get developed and change over time as they look at parking or look at different things that come up. So it's been an interesting process, and it's a unique project for low-income seniors. It's 57 units, and I think what we're trying to do is provide as many opportunities for affordable housing in our community as we can, for seniors, for families. And so as we look at different opportunities, it's going to appeal to a different tenant demographic, if you will. And I told the council the other night, I thought my mom, who passed away about 12 years ago, would be a perfect candidate. She didn't drive, but she was very active and took the bus everywhere, so that would have been a good match for her, but not necessarily every senior. So I encourage you to go online. I think you can look at the plans online. So.
Yeah, funding right now is tied. We don't have our own housing authority in Tigard. We use the Washington County Housing Authority, and that money that they're getting from the Metro Affordable Housing Bond will be going through Washington County to that project. So they're applying for that, and they think by the end of the year, October or so, they'll have that money in hand, and probably a spring groundbreaking.
There was a question about where that's going to be located. I think.
Where the senior center.
Yeah, maybe describe where that's at.
Where do you know the senior center is? There's off O'Mara, and close to the library there, by the Northwest Christian Church.
Right.
It's kind of catty corner from that, and so it'll be right by, where they have Meals on Wheels, and they have a lot of events at the senior center. People go over there for lunch and socialization. The building will be, as you drive in the parking lot, kind of straight ahead, and then you'll continue to have that kind of loop around the building. So they've changed the footprint a few times, but it's out of a floodplain. It's going to be about 3 stories high.
3, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So a nice building that will be in the area for 80 years.
Beautiful setting.
Yeah.
Okay, the Dartmouth intersection has people running the lights regularly. Any indication of that getting more enforcement in the future? Well, we definitely can pass that on to our police department and ask that they take a look at that if they don't regularly. But the other thing that would be helpful is, I believe there's a traffic form you can fill out, and if you're noticing at particular times, I remember when I worked for the city, it was really helpful if you notice it at a morning commute or Saturday morning or when everybody's going to Costco. That's helpful for them too, so they can do some targeted enforcement. It may be pretty much all the time, but if you notice it at a specific time when you're out there, it would be helpful for them to know that, so they can do some targeted enforcement.
Yeah, I'll put that form in the
Okay.
Dropbox.
Gonna put the form out there for you.
Okay, do we want to do the Hall and Faffel?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hall and Faffel intersection is very dangerous, agreed. Any way to put a light in there, or maybe a traffic circle. We'll pass that on to our engineers, our traffic engineers, and see what they say.
And again, that's a, not a road that's maintained, or the city of Tiger doesn't have jurisdiction, so we have to work with the state and the county on that. So.
Right, that's an ODOT facility, Hall
Right.
Boulevard. So there may be a day, someday soon, that they will actually transfer Hall Boulevard over to the city of Tiger, and we're kind of excited for that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a metro question. Do you want to take that one?
This isn't a question for the city of Tigard, okay, but do you know how to get the best updates on how Metro will be spending the new tax we will be paying to fund homeless services that passed in the spring? Yes, so Metro is gathering a committee right there to oversee the spending of that tax. All these taxes are going to be divided up between the 3 counties. So this is more of a Washington County issue. They will disperse it to Tigard if we have a specific program. Otherwise, I think it will just be equitable amongst the cities in the county. I don't think that there's any information yet, since we haven't actually been collecting any money yet. But stay tuned. Metro will have it on their website, and again, that's going to go through Washington County first.
Okay. Anything else out there, Mr. Wyatt?
Not for now, not right
Okay.
now.
The census. Remember back before COVID, we talked about everybody filling out their census by April 1st? Well, much like your tax deadline, which if you didn't file them yesterday or your extension, you're late, because tax deadline was yesterday, July 15th. The new census deadline is October 31st to self-report. We're encouraging everybody to complete the census form. It makes a difference for Tigard and the state of Oregon. Federal funds get distributed often by population, and one example I like to use is now the city of Tigard is over 50,000 folks, which means that we are entitled to get community development block grant funding directly from the federal government. So 50,001, I think we're at 54,000 now, but just even one person, you do count. Once we went over 50,000, we were eligible to receive those funds. We've decided to do a joint program with Washington County, which we could go into detail if people are interested in, but there's a really good example of how now we will be able to get some funds directly from the federal government to fund. A lot of it, we're hopeful, will fund some of our affordable housing programs and projects. So you do count, so please go online and do the census if you haven't already done it. And I think after October 31st, if I'm not wrong, is when they start doing the follow-up. Is that correct?
You're right.
Yeah, okay, so you have till October 31st to do the self-reporting.
I have 2 questions that just came in here.
What are the plans or updates on the light rail going through Tigard on 99? Well, it's I can tell you quite a bit about that. So Metro just today had a very long meeting. I was watching part of it, and they have referred the financial piece of that to the voters on the November ballot. So the light rail portion in Tigard is not really going on 99. It's going to kind of come on the side of Barber Boulevard, come about around Fred Meyer and pass over into the Tigard Triangle. So very little exposure to Highway 99 at all. It'll go mostly through some underdeveloped properties in the Triangle, where we can hopefully develop some affordable housing and get some businesses in there that service that. So that is going to be referred to the voters. If it passes the vote, there's pros and cons to the funding mechanisms, but if it passes the vote, then we'll continue on with that project.
Right, and I think we're not looking at construction till like 2027 or something. Is that right?
No, they'll start earlier.
Okay.
But
Okay, great.
It's still a ways out there.
Can you share what you know about the Sears area redevelopment? Well, there's a project that was being designed, considered sort of conceptually, and we're redoing the Washington Square Regional Center plan because the last regional center plan was done, I think, in the early 90s, if I'm remembering correctly. And so we're re-looking at everything in terms of development requirements, code requirements, traffic studies, all that information. So we're working on a Washington Square redevelopment plan update, and then we'll look at where the project fits into that planning. I will have to say I'm not sure that the COVID-19 economic situation's affected that project. I really haven't heard an update. Have you?
So Macerich is the owner of Washington Square Mall, and they're in the planning. They're working with our planning department, getting the permits. Eventually, the Sears building will be torn down, and what they want to do, envision it as an entertainment center with theaters and outdoor dining and an amphitheater. Very cool stuff. No details yet to share, but
And perhaps maybe some housing in there? Are they gonna
yeah, there's going to be some rental housing, some apartments that they would manage right there on the property as well. So they want to get some people living there that will use the mall. You know, malls have gone through a tough time with
Right.
even before COVID. Retail has been suffering a little bit, so they're trying to infuse a little energy, and it's been popular in many areas of the country. And so we're looking forward to that. Probably next year.
Next year.
By the time permits and all that stuff is.
So does the Washington Square center plan update need to be finished before that happens?
No, I
Okay.
think they're fine, but
Okay.
they're you know, ingress and egress and road widening and stuff like that is all in play.
Traffic
for that.
impacts.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not seeing the Tigard Public Safety Transformation Commission proposal on the Community for All page. Does anyone have access? You will. The commitment that the staff made to us was that it would be posted by tomorrow, the end of the day tomorrow. And so Councilor Anderson and I got a latest draft. I actually went through and reviewed it and submitted my comments before I came here. So my understanding is that it will be posted, and anyone just go on that page and you will be able to review it. And I apologize if earlier I led you to believe it would be up there now, but it will be there tomorrow. So.
From Leah, what are your thoughts on the Tigard Youth Curfew? What kind of outcomes do we see from it? As we look at police reform and the rules we ask them to enforce, is it time to reconsider this rule?
Curfew.
You know, I don't know about a Tigard Youth Curfew, and we haven't heard from the chief about that.
I'm wondering if it's not Tigard specific, but that's a good thing for us to check into.
I gotta
Yeah, I'm
plead
sort of-
ignorance on that
yeah,
one.
me
So
too.
we will check that out for you, Leah.
Yeah.
Thank you for your call, or your
Question.
post.
I see that those houses are being removed on the triangle. Are those due to businesses or the rail? There's a lot of development occurring in the triangle right now, so likely, I don't know which houses you're speaking of, but likely they're in preparation for some sort of development in the triangle.
Yeah, so the location of the rail has largely been decided, and then the location of the stations. There have been some owners of those properties that have been speculating for years that this was going to happen. So they could be getting ready to develop those in a different way.
Right. So, okay. Another thing I had a note on is if you haven't gone online and looked at the Tigard aid packages we have related to folks that are suffering economically due to COVID-19. There's a residential $40 credit for utilities for any household where one member is unemployed. That's one thing. There's a $40 financial credit for commercial businesses where they have had losses due to COVID-19. We have water assistance available, and that's to pay your water bill available every month through the end of December, and you'll just need to provide some documentation for that, but that's another program that it's available. You can request an extension for your backflow testing to September 1st of this year, if that would be helpful. And then late fees on business alarm permits have been waived through December of 2020. So if you're not aware of those programs that we've got in place, and that would be helpful, we want to pass that on to you. Also, we're suspending water shutoffs, and we have delayed utility rate increases that were going to take effect July 1st this year to January 1st of 2021.
Well, we're going to revisit it then.
We are going to revisit that action too, to
Yeah.
see if that's something we still want to do. Another thing that's going on, the Fano Creek Trail crossing. There's a virtual open house, and that's to get comments on a new crossing along the Fano Creek Trail that would, right now you've got to go under Shoals Ferry, and that's wet a lot. There's a lot of water in there, and so they're looking at an at-grade crossing. In other words, actually going across Shoals Ferry, the very enhanced crosswalk. It would be more than just a regular crosswalk. So they're looking for we're looking for comments on that. So if that's something, an area that you ride your bike or walk regularly, you might want to go online and take a look at that. I walked that section of the Fano Creek Trail with my sister the other day, and so we took a look at what the plans were. So would love to get your comments on that. Go ahead.
Great program on the utility credit. So glad the city is offering it. That's from Elizabeth. And yes, Elizabeth, take advantage of that and tell us how we're doing. We want to make it really streamlined, and so hopefully that works well for you.
And we're looking for any ways, big or small, that the city can help folks out in these trying economic times we're in due to COVID. So another thing, the city's in the middle of reviewing the strategic plan. We're updating it. So if you have comments, we hope you take a look at it and provide comments to us. You can access that online as well. It's again, we have adopted our first strategic plan in 2014, and we're looking at revising it and updating it. More of a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and continuing our theme of being a walkable community, and and being a community for all. So that's something that we would appreciate your feedback on.
Okay, next question. What is happening with Universal Plaza? And what you don't see behind the scenes is that it's being planned and planned and planned. Nothing happens fast in government, right? So we planned the Heritage Trail, if you've seen that, for years and years, and now that's coming to fruition. If you walk along, by Symposium Coffee and down along the railroad tracks there, that is really coming together. They've got some murals up there. There's more art that has been procured by some grants. So that's coming together. The Universal Plaza, we have designs for it. We're selecting some vendors to work on that. What were we thinking of demo in that building?
Well, the building's being demoed.
Yeah,
it's being demoed, and initially this summer was going to be a time where we're going to try some sort of temporary installations of ways that the community might want to use the plaza and get your feedback. But because of COVID-19, we're having to rethink that. The firm that we selected to help us with the planning of the plaza was going to literally bring in different seating and different activities and events and things like that for folks to comment on, and so we're having to rethink that. So stay tuned. We're moving forward as we can, but we will need to kind of rethink that community engagement piece. So we're working on that as well.
We actually have a live cam.
We've got a live cam.
Live cam on Universal Plaza. You can see where it's at, and watch the development of it.
Okay.
Okay, great. For those of you who don't know what Universal Plaza is, and I'm sure that's a few of you, just right on Burnham here, not far from City Hall, very close to downtown, the old Ferguson Plumbing Building. The city owns that property, and it's large enough but not too large for a nice meeting place plaza. With it's going to be very versatile with a splash pad, water splash pad for the kids, and
Place to have the farmers market, music.
yeah, it's going to
maybe
be a
some
very
food
nice gathering
vendors,
place. Yeah.
You know, food carts, that kind of thing. So it's going to really be a great gathering place for the community.
It backs to Fano Creek. It's a real nice setting. It's very flat.
Yeah. So
So that's where that's going to be.
and we were able to help Ferguson Plumbing relocate to a suitable location for them in Tualatin. The new nature park on Tigard Street, what's going to happen in the field where the concrete triangle is? What concrete Tigard Street?
What's going to happen to the field with the concrete? Danielle, I'm kind of blanking on that.
There's oh you mean the extension of the Dirksen Plaza? Over there by on Tigard Street where the Oak Savannah, that park? Where the trailer, I don't know what else to call it, where they have the Tualatin River Keeper, that's on Tigard Street.
Yep, Danielle said yep.
Yeah.
Okay. What's going to happen in the field where the concrete triangle is? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure the exact location. We're working on the restoration of the Oak Savannah, and you could go online and look at the Dirksen Nature Park. This is a multi-year project, and so, you know, we've finished the play area and the gazebo, and we're doing the Oak Savannah restoration, and so there may be something specific for that area that's a plan, but because it's a multi-year project, I'll admit to this one too that I'm not sure that I recall.
Danielle, I'm sure they've got a plan for it.
Right, and we can.
I'll get her email address. We'll follow up.
Yeah.
The communications manager, Wyatt, will follow up with you, Danielle. And then the other thing, I'm not sure, folks may have not heard our communications manager say that there's a live cam on the Universal Plaza site, so you can log on and look at the activities that are going on, watch the building get demoed, I guess, so.
Yeah, that's fun. I watched the Tigard High School gym be demoed
Oh, you did?
online. So I check it every other day.
Oh.
It's like, hey,
Yeah, that's good.
more and more.
More stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions out there or comments?
Not for right now. Danielle was just saying it's the area across from the apartments. Apparently it's.
Yeah, it's over there by where the
Yeah,
Tualatin River Keepers are. I know where she's talking about, but I was gonna try to see if I could
Feels
find
very
some
unsafe,
real quick.
was her comment.
Yeah, I was gonna see if I could find something.
Okay.
Parks. There we go. Anyway, any other comments? Let's see, we've got a few minutes
Yep.
left if you've got. Oh, deadline to run for council.
Yes.
August 24th at 5 p.m. We have 2 candidates.
2 candidates so far.
Mhm.
There are 2 openings on the council. Unfortunately, I'm not running again. I'm running for Metro Council. So my seat is open and available for somebody to grab it. Also, Councilor Louv, who came in kind of mid-term, is running. Her seat is open as well. So 2 seats open for council. You got to get your packet in. It's pretty easy to do. You need a few signatures of Tigard residents that back you, and then you can get your packet in and run.
Yeah, so encourage you to consider that. If you have questions, I think most of the members of our city council would be happy to communicate with you about that. I know I would, and our contact information is online, so you can.
You can contact the city manager's office. I think, is Carol heading that?
Carol, yeah.
Yeah, Carol usually does that.
The city recorder.
So just raise your hand, say you want to run, and then they'll give you all the information and show you how to do that.
And Danielle, I'm going online. I just went online. I've got my iPad here, and there are some plans. If you go to the parks page and then go to Dirksen Nature Park, there's some maps and some drawings and the master plan graphic. I see nature play, an interpretive and picnic center, some overflow parking, a community garden. So all of that is a wetland overlook. All of that is along the Tigard Street portion of Dirksen Nature Park. So you might want to go check. Would be the master plan graphic that would give you the location of those features. Okay, upcoming outreach. We have a virtual chat with the chief August 5th at 5 p.m. And the next Spark conversation with council will be Thursday, August 20th from 6:30 to 7:30. And it's going to be Councilor Heidi Lube and me. And then in September 17th, we'll have Councilor Lube and Councilor Anderson. So that's some upcoming opportunities for you. And remember, our council meetings are virtual, so you can log on and watch those. We always provide a phone number, so if you have something you want to chat with council about, you can take advantage of that phone number and give us a call. We had 3 people call us last meeting, so that works out pretty well. It's a little more awkward than being in person, but we seem to make it work. So
We're kind of getting used to it.
yeah, we are. So 5 minutes left.
Yeah, so I guess the main thing that we've been working on is this equity, inclusion, safety program that's going to be posted on our website. We want feedback on that. Again, we put it together with staff. Mayor Snyder did a lot of the heavy lifting on that, but it's a pretty comprehensive document, but I'm sure you'll find some things to add, some things that you may or may not like, and it's all in the point of starting a conversation.
Right, and it's important conversations to have, and the mayor prepared the draft, as Councilor Anderson mentioned, and we've had a lot of comments, questions, suggestions from the community already, and he incorporated a lot of that into the draft. He shared it with some folks that had been particularly vocal, and some people in the community of color before he released the first draft to us, and this is our 3rd draft, and we've had some good conversations, but we know it's a starting point. These are important conversations, so we really do encourage you to take a look and give us your feedback. So again, I think it's going to be posted tomorrow.
So the point of this is to set up a committee of sorts to analyze diversity blocks that we may have in the city, and it could be temporary. It could go just 4, 5, 6 months, or it could be ongoing. Eugene started theirs in the 90s, and they still have theirs ongoing. So I guess that's a point that the actual committee will see if they still have some interesting topics going on, that they can extend that. But that will be starting up soon.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we will be talking about that again next week at our council meeting. So if you've had a chance to review the proposal and you want to speak with council directly about it, would encourage you to contact us then, or just follow the direction when it's posted, and give your feedback that way. Okay, we got 2 minutes according to Mr. Wyatt. Again, thanks to all of you that tune into these Spark events. We had a lot of plans to get out in the community this summer, but COVID sort of blew that. So we are trying as best we can to stay connected with you. We encourage you to contact us with any questions you have during these events, or of course anytime you want to email us or give us a call. Our contact information is available for you. So
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you for tuning in, and we welcome your feedback. If you have a comment or a question that you think of later, just go ahead and send it to Kent Wyatt, who's our communications director, and he'll put it on the next one if we don't get back to you sooner.
okay, thank you very much. Have a nice evening.